Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, verse number 17. Sautye vritaha kumatinat ada ishvaro me yat pada padmam abhavaya bhajanti bhavyaha mam shrantavaham arayo rathina bhuvishtham na praharan yadanubhavanirasta chittaha. Sautye, regarding a chariot driver, Ritaha, engaged, Kumatina, by bad consciousness, Atmadaha, one who delivers, Ishvaraha, the Supreme Lord, may, my, Yat, whose, Pada Padmam, lotus feet, Abhavaya, in the matter of salvation, Bhajanti, do render service, Bhavyaha, the intelligent class of men, Mam, unto me, Shranta, thirsty, Vaham, my horses, Arayaha, the enemies, Rathinaha, a great general, Bhuvishtham, while standing on the ground, No, did not, Praharan, attack, Yat, whose, Anubhava, mercy, Nirasta, being absent, Chittaha, mind. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. Purport. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the object of worship both by impersonalists and by the devotees of the Lord. The impersonalists worship his glowing effulgence emanating from his transcendental body of eternal form, bliss, and knowledge, and the devotees worship him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are below even the impersonalists consider him to be one of the great historical personalities. The Lord, however, descends to attract all by his specific transcendental pastimes, and thus he plays the part of the most perfect master, friend, son, and lover. His transcendental relation with Arjuna was in friendship, and the Lord therefore played the part perfectly, as he did with his parents, lovers, and wives. While playing in such a perfect transcendental relation, the devotee forgets, by the internal potency of the Lord, that his friend or son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although sometimes the devotee is bewildered by the acts of the Lord. After the departure of the Lord, Arjuna was conscious of his great friend, but there was no mistake on the part of Arjuna, nor any ill estimation of the Lord. Intelligent men are attracted by the transcendental acting of the Lord with a pure, unalloyed devotee like Arjuna. In the warfield, scarcity of water is a well-known fact. Water is very rare there, and both the animals and the men working strenuously on the warfield constantly require water to quench their thirst. Especially wounded soldiers and generals feel very thirsty at the time of death, and it sometimes so happens that simply for want of water, one has to die unavoidably. But such scarcity of water was solved in the Battle of Kurukshetra by means of boring the ground. By God's grace, water can be easily obtained from any place if there is facility for boring the ground. The modern system works on the same principle of boring the ground, but modern engineers are still unable to dig immediately wherever necessary. It appears, however, from the history as far back as the days of the Pandavas, that big generals like Arjuna could at once supply water even to the horses, and what to speak of men, by drawing water from underneath the hard ground simply by penetrating the stratum with a sharp arrow, a method still unknown to the modern scientists. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Translation once again. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation. So we see, by mercy of Krishna, Arjuna has been victorious all the time, all throughout his life. And here in this verse, we can see he is making it very clear that the enemies could not kill him only because Krishna was with him. The protection from Krishna was always with him and his brothers also. So here in this verse, Arjuna is remembering what happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he's talking about him getting down from the chariot, and the purpose was to quench the thirst of the horses. That itself shows that he was so compassionate, so kind. And not only that, he was alert. He was aware that the horses were tired and thirsty. So he wanted to provide water to them so that they can continue to help him in the war. So Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, he talks about this problem of, thirst in the war, especially because he says during the war, everyone is working hard to win the war. It's a strenuous activity. And because of that stress and strain, the horses and even the soldiers, they get thirsty and they want water. And Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point that water is necessary, but some of them, they die because of thirst. Maybe there is no water available, so they unavoidably die because of thirst. So from this verse, we also see how expert Arjuna was. He could board the ground anywhere, anytime. All he had to do is penetrate his arrow to the ground and boom, there is water. And that's how he satisfied the thirst of the horses. Now, if you remember, he did the same for Bhishma Pitama also. When Bhishma Dev was, lying on the bed of arrows, and sure enough, it was time for him to leave the body. So he was thirsty, and Arjuna bore the ground there also. And then there was a big stream of water that went straight into the mouth of Bhishma Dev. So we can see Arjuna, besides being an expert archer, being an expert kshatriya, he was an expert devotee too. He was so kind and compassionate. And he even is feeling bad and embarrassed and ashamed that he treated Krishna, the Supreme Lord, as just an ordinary friend or a best friend. And in this verse, we can see he's talking that, he's feeling that I wish I knew before, then I wouldn't have, played with him like a friend, slept on the same bed, eaten with him, etc., etc. But instead, I would have worshipped him. So Srila Prabhupada talks about this relationship between Krishna and Arjuna, and also Krishna's relationship with the other family members. Imagine if Yashoda, she knew that my child is the Supreme Lord. What would she do in the morning? She would start worshiping him. She would bring an arti tray and she would start, offering incense and, ghee lamp and flowers and all. There would be no mother and son relationship between them in that case. So Krishna, he makes this arrangement. He, puts a curtain of Maya, as you may say, so that his relatives, like his mother, his father, they all don't know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Krishna is so compassionate, he wants to give pleasure to his devotees. Yashoda Maya is a devotee of Krishna, even Nanda Maharaj and all the Gopas and Gopis. So he didn't want an obstruction in their relationship. So that's why, they don't know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here we see that Arjuna, he is quenching the thirst of the horses. And I was thinking that we don't go to a war. We are not Kshatriyas. We don't fight, so that kind of thirst we are not aware of. But I was thinking the holy name can quench the thirst, whatever thirst we may have, not in the literal sense, but holy name can quench the thirst. And Srila Prabhupada, in his lectures, in his evening walks or conversations, or, talking to the other people, he always stresses on the importance of chanting. Good japa. Our chanting should be very, very focused, attentive chanting. And that's why he gave us those 10 offenses against, chanting of the holy names. But then he also adds at the bottom that being inattentive also is an offense. I was reading through Mahatma Prabhu's article. There was an article, beautiful article in Back to Godhead, and I was reading his points that he makes, and the points that he talks about chanting good japa, they are thought-provoking. I was just so happy to read those points. And he says that when we are sitting down to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we should do it happily. We should do it enthusiastically, and in that mood, in that attitude, welcome the holy name into our hearts. Welcome, which means to say, supposing I invite you to my house and I'm not happy, I'm not enthusiastic, I don't welcome, then the guest is offended because I'm the one who invited. So when we are chanting, we are inviting Krishna into our hearts. So when we are welcoming someone, it has to be done happily and enthusiastically. Then he says that we must chant with focus and attention. See, the thing is, he says, when I chant, I chant. Nothing else. I don't do anything else while chanting, whether it is browsing through internet, trying to read something, try to talk, being on the phone, driving, whatever it may be. When I chant, I only chant the holy name. And the attitude should be, I get to chant, I want to chant, and I love to chant. That kind of attitude, so that, when we are chanting, we are calling out to Krishna. And when we are calling out to Krishna, the state of mind should be that I really want to chant. I really want Krishna in my life. I really want Krishna in my heart. And while chanting, we should treat that the holy name is equal to Radha and Krishna. So we are being conscious of the fact that Radha and Krishna are present in the holy name. So the chanting should be with full awareness, not half-hearted, chanting, and not distracted chanting. I'm chanting and I'm thinking, oh, I need to do laundry. I'm chanting, oh, I need to cook. No, there should be complete full awareness while chanting. Why? Because we are chanting to please Radha and Krishna, to please them, to purify ourselves. Srila Prabhupada has given us this very simple process: chant and be happy. So if our chanting is good, if our japa is focused and with full awareness, with the right attitude, then we can see Krishna is present even in his holy name. We should come out of the mind. I don't know how to do that, but come out of the mind and focus on the heart and be fully present while chanting. You see, when we do that, then we are actually honoring the holy name. We are honoring Krishna while chanting. So to do that, Mahatma Prabhu said that we have to turn off the world, our material world, turn it off and turn on Krishna's world. So I started thinking, how do you do that? And when I was continuing to read the article, it becomes very clear that the moment we start focusing on the holy name, I was, I think it was yesterday or a few days ago, I was next to a devotee who was chanting, and it's none of my business, but I noticed that the chanting was incomplete. It was Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I was thinking, should I point out or should I not? But then I noticed I don't have the authority to do that. But I wish I could, because I don't want to offend the devotees. So you see, chanting has to be so focused that we should be aware, are we chanting complete Mahamantra or not? Is it broken? Is it incomplete? It has to be very, very clear when we are chanting, so we can hear that I am chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Very, very clear. Each and every syllable is very clear, loud enough so that we can hear and catch ourselves if we are not chanting the complete Maha Mantra. You see? So how do we turn off the material world? First thing is, we don't do anything when we are chanting. That is our japa time. That is our Krishna time. That is the time when we want to connect with Krishna. And we want to do it in the mornings, which is the Brahma Muhurat, so that it is easier for us to turn off the world. But as the day goes on, there are so many things happening and so much goes into our mind through our eyes and ears that it becomes difficult to turn off the material world. But in the morning, it's possible to do that and turn on Krishna's world. So when we are chanting, the only motive, there should be no other motive. Only motive should be that I want to improve my devotional service. I want to reach a stage where I can perform pure devotional service to God, to the Supreme Lord Krishna. And Mahatma Prabhu also said, I was so happy to read this article. He said that the beads, the chanting beads, they are our connection to Krishna. They are actually our ticket back to Godhead. How very important. So if we follow these steps, these points, and try to improve our chanting, I'm talking about myself, try to improve the chanting, then we will be able to relish the holy names of Radha and Krishna. Now, talking so much about chanting, in the same Back to Godhead, I saw another beautiful article where instructions are given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he gives the benefits of chanting. What do we gain by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra? He says that it drives away material lamentation. If we are morose, we are lamenting, we are distressed, depressed or whatever it may be, chanting drives away material lamentation. Why? Because it starts purifying everything, starts purifying the mind, the senses, the body, the intelligence. Everything starts getting purified. And then what will be the result? It will awaken transcendental bliss, something that we are all hankering for, because in the material world, in the material things, there is no transcendental bliss at all. Why? Because the Bhagavad Gita explains that the happiness in the material world has a beginning and it has an end. And that is why we are unable to experience transcendental bliss. But when we chant, then we start developing transcendental mellows. There is jubilation of heart. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says it stimulates devotional service. Why? Because the chanting is purifying, and it is the devotee can experience transcendental bliss and even relish the chanting. And also, finally, he says that it awakens good fortune. These are some of the benefits of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada says 99% of our progress in spiritual life depends on attentive chanting. Talking about good fortune, I heard this story, very funny. So one person, he was crying. So his friend asked him, why are you crying? So he said, well, my some far off relative died, and so I'm crying. So the friend said, oh, I am so sorry to hear that. But this friend said, I know he died, but he left a good fortune for me. I have inherited good fortune. So the friend said, well, that's good, right? Yes, everyone has to die one day, and your relative has passed away, but you've got good fortune. Then the next week, this person was again crying. And so the friend asked him, now what happened this week? He said, another of my relative passed away, and he also left a good fortune for me. So the friend said, well, looks like you're very lucky. The third week, again, he was crying. So the friend said, oh, who died this time? He said, no, I'm crying because no one died this week. So I didn't get any fortune. That's why I'm crying. Height of greed. I mean, you've already got from 2 relatives, and now you want every week some fortune to come your way. But guess what? Chanting brings good fortune. It awakens good fortune. So we see in this verse, Arjuna, he is also thinking about his actions. He's like, how could I engage the Supreme Lord to be my chariot driver? What was I thinking? Of course, when he, arranged for Krishna to be his chariot driver, he didn't know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But now he's thinking, what was I thinking? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I should have worshipped him, served him. Instead, what did I do? I took service from him. So now he is repenting that, oh, I wish I knew, then I would have just worshipped him and served him instead of, taking service from him. And when Arjuna, he says that it is only by Krishna's mercy that all good fortune was with him, that he was protected and he was guided only by the mercy of Krishna. That indicates we are not the doers. There's nothing which is in our hands. The ultimate, the final authority is Krishna, and it is he who decides. It's his will. Like they say, not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna. So it is only because of the mercy of the Lord. Whatever we have today, whether it is good health, good family, home, children, whatever it is all because of the blessings of Krishna. So why do we take credit for us? Say, oh, anything good happens, I did it. It's me who did it. Why do we take that credit? And when something goes wrong, we just blame Krishna that, oh, it's your fault. You're the one who did that. So from the life of Pandavas, we can understand that Krishna helped them all the time, right from childhood. They were always protected by Krishna. We also need protection. Of course, most people in this world, they think that I'm all in all. I'm the master of all I survey. I'm the controller. I can control my life. I can control my family. I can control my boss, etc., etc. I am the controller, and thinking that I am the doer. But no, we are not the doers. We learned in Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti Kriyamanani Gune Karmani Sarvasha Ahankar Vimhudatma Kartahamiti Manyate. Because of ahankar, because of pride, we think I am the doer, but we are not the doers. We do need protection, and protection comes from surrendering to Krishna. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Only when we surrender to Krishna, follow his instructions, follow instructions of Guru and Krishna, then we will get the protection. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, of course, always he gives in such a simple way, he explains the verse. Now, if we just had to read the verse, we may not understand it the way we understand with the purport. And we are so blessed, we're so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada spent hours and hours and hours giving us purports to almost each and every verse in his books. And he's talking about, one of the points that he talks about is that Krishna, he descends to attract everyone. How? By his transcendental pastimes. I'm sure most of us have read the Krishna book. We have even read Krishna's pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. And, we have heard these pastimes so many times, but every time we read or every time we hear, it gives joy. It is so wonderful. It gives bliss just to hear those pastimes. Reading Krishna book, even though we may read again and again and again, every time we read, it is blissful. That's how Krishna's pastimes are. He is all attractive. His pastimes are all attractive. And Srila Prabhupada talks about Krishna being the perfect master, perfect lover, perfect friend, perfect son, perfect husband. Why perfect? Because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all perfect and all attractive. You see, devotees, do not forget Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But sometimes Krishna wants his devotees to forget. Like Yashoda. He wants Yashoda to forget. If he did not, then she would not tie him up. Then she would not take a stick and run after him, right? Then she would not scold him. Instead, she would start worshipping. So Krishna sometimes wants his devotees to forget that he is the Supreme Lord. Why? Because it gives pleasure to the devotees, and it gives pleasure to Krishna when they have that interaction, when they have that relationship. Now, even though the devotee has forgotten this is Supreme Lord, but still their relationship is transcendental. So Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna comes down to attract all. But there are only very few fortunate who get attracted. There are only very few fortunate who, with the help of knowledge, they are able to understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here we see that Arjuna, he is remembering after Krishna's departure, he's remembering everything that, excuse me, that the relationship he had, all the pastimes of Krishna with him. And now he's remembering how Krishna has been so merciful to all of them, all the Pandavas. Srila Prabhupada also talks about, that Krishna, he is so merciful that he came down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us the same mercy. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us more mercy. Why? Because he gave free love of God. Free. Just chant and come back to Godhead. Free. But unfortunately, many people do not value it because they say, oh, it's free. I'm sure it's not good enough. It's free. No one cares for free. If you have to pay some, dollars for it, oh, yes. Talking about dollars, I don't know if I related this incident that happened with Srila Prabhupada's disciple. Excuse me. So he was living, I think, in New York. I'm not sure because I heard it decades ago. He was asked by his roommate to come and meet his guru. This roommate was going to a guru and said, you please come, you'll be so happy, accept him as a guru and your life will be blissful. So after a lot of coaxing, he said, okay, let me go and try. So he went to this guru and the guru said, I'm going to give you a mantra in your ears. It's very secret and you should not share it with anybody and it'll cost you $100. Now, $100 in those days, decades ago, that's a lot of money. So he thought, well, to be happy, I'll pay this price. It wasn't free. He had to pay a price. So he gave $100 and he got his mantra in his ears, which was secret. He said, don't even share it with your roommate. And you chant this for X number of minutes, X number of times every day. Excuse me. So this devotee was, he found it weird. Like, is this the mantra? And he said, well, but since I've paid $100, let me try, if it works. So he started chanting that and he was not really happy. So he asked his roommate, he said, you got a mantra, right? From our guru. Now we have the same guru. Can you tell me what your mantra is? Because I think something is wrong with my mantra. So the other roommate said, no, I cannot share because it's a secret. He said, no, it'll be just between us two. We won't tell anybody. So the roommate said, okay, first you tell me what is your mantra. And his mantra that he received was every day, couple of times, he has to chant, brrr. That's the mantra. Brrr. I was like, what? So he told his friend, now you tell me what is your mantra. And that friend, the roommate, he's saying his mantra is chi-chi-chi-chi-chi-chi-chi. I was blown away by this. Then this devotee, he said he was so fortunate he came across Srila Prabhupada. And then he got a mantra which was not secret. It was very simple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's all. And he was so happy to get that mantra. He immediately stopped chanting that brrr or whatever he was doing. You see? So when it is free, we don't have that value. And here, Srila Prabhupada gave it for free, but it's the most valuable, a treasure that can help us go back to Godhead. You see, we human beings, we have philosophical intelligence, which we can use, to become Krishna conscious, to become self-realized. We can use that, you see, instead of running after, materialistic things. But here we have a treasure house that can help us to realize our own selves, to become self-realized. That is the purpose of human life. It is not meant for, possessions, getting this, getting that. One devotee was visiting Atlanta, and he gave a very nice story about how one uses the intelligence for personal sense gratification. He said that a sage came to a family's house, and he was very happy with the way the family served him. So he said, I can give you one benediction which will come true. I have that power, but I can give you only one benediction. So he went to his family to, they all, they had a conference, meeting. So what should we ask? But so the father was blind. So he said, please ask for my vision. I want my visions because I want, to be able to see. His mother said, well, I want a benediction of a grandson. I want to see a grandson. And the wife, she said, I want a lot of gold jewelry. Now he was confused. Who should I ask for? Should I ask the sage for my father's vision, my mother's desire to have a grandson, or my wife's, that she wants gold jewelry? Then he used his intelligence. He went to the sage and he said, well, my father wants to see my grandson eat in a gold plate. You see, fulfilled all three. My father wants to see her grandson, that means my child, grandson, who can eat in a gold plate, which means money also comes. How smart. But if we use that same intelligence by focusing on Krishna, focusing on what Krishna's desire is, instead of focusing on what our personal desires are. You see, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna is more eager to have us back in Goloka Vrindavan than we are eager to go there. That is the problem. Because we feel, I am very satisfied and happy here in the material world. I don't need anything else. But you see, here we are getting free mercy. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada, we have got everything free. We've got free books. Now, of course, you can read them online for free. We have festivals and temples and deity worship and prasadam, everything. When we go to the temple on Sundays, everything is free for us. We hear free lecture, we have free darshan, we have free prasadam, we have free devotee association, we celebrate festivals for free. Everything is free. You see, Srila Prabhupada has given the process. All we have to do is just take that mercy. Are we ready to take it? That is $1 million question, which only we can answer, because each individual has to decide for themselves. So I'm going to end here the translation once again. It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offers services by the best men to attain salvation. Hare Krishna.